Many of you may know the founder of Giveth, Griff, who worked with the DAO back in the day. And when Giveth was created, we were looking to experiment with other ways to use decentralized autonomous organizations to build a future that is regenerative and focused on philanthropy and looking at the different ways that we can decentralize the decisions we make around how to use the resources that are available through the blockchain technology and how to use Web3 tools to really support first, the building of the virtual tools that we need for DAOs to be able to coordinate. That's really what this comes down to, is how are we building the tools that humans can use in order to coordinate and use resources in a better way and enable the projects that are doing good on the ground to actually have access to those resources instead of what we've had in the past, where a lot of the systems that we have been extracting from them. So I joined back when Giveth was a DAC, a decentralized autonomous community. We've been experimenting for over 5 years on how to govern the decisions that we use to build our tools and then to make them accessible to people. The new economy that we launched this year, again, is advancing the field quite a bit. We're pretty excited to see how launching this economy and the Give token rewards people who are donating in a way that actually continues to develop utility around this token. And that's where we see building these token swaps with Prime DAO and other DAOs, building up these DAO to DAO relationships where we're able to support each other, grows collaboration in the ecosystem as a whole. And I'll probably stop myself there. I work a lot now with the projects that are on the ground, helping get these projects that have the capacity to use tools listed on the platform so donors can find them. And I'll pass it over to Mitch so he can tell us a little bit more. Mitch has taken on the stewardship of the governance circle and of our DAO now.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, so I'm currently the DAO steward in Giveth. Been working for Giveth a bit shy of 2 years now. I've known Griff and Danny for quite a bit longer than that, and I've known the Giveth story for quite a while as well. And I was very inspired to work for Giveth because it's one of the OGs in the ecosystem, you know, especially the history with Griff and the DAO. I've been really impressed with how we've grown our DAO structure. We have reputation tokens, we have the Give token, and all of them serve different functions on the platform. And launching our Give economy has opened up all sorts of avenues for making these token swaps, for coordinating with other DAOs, with having distributed governance. So I'm really looking forward to how we can expand on that, especially with Prime DAO, and especially with the selection of products that they're building towards DAO to DAO coordination. And I'll keep it short there. I'll maybe pass it to Chadfi and let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Mitch. Hey, everyone. Chadfi here. Relatively newish to Giveth. I've been contributing for about 6 or 7 months now. I do the tokenomics research and DeFi research for Giveth. So running a small working group, basically just finding new ways in DeFi where we can help Giveth grow and really drive the Giveth vision. So yeah, part of that involves different token swaps. So that's kind of where we got kicked off with Prime. So yeah, really excited to talk with you guys today. And yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Great to have you all here. And as you were talking, I had so many questions. So great. Let's continue by also introducing Prime DAO and the two speakers from Prime DAO. And then I would love to dive more into your model, your governance, and how you think of moving forward. So Alp, would you like maybe to start?
Hi, thanks, Christina. Hey guys. So it's Alp. I'm with Prime for the last 1 year and a half, trying to understand the progress of decentralization that could happen in in a DAO where a lot of members from developing countries are also membered in. We're trying to understand how we can actually explore this new technological movement, let's say, all together. And I'm very happy to coordinate with Giveth as well, especially with Mitch, that we work on multiple projects together. Nice to meet you all. I'll give it Ata back.
Hey everyone, I'm Ata. I work in product design and partnerships across different products in PrimeDAO, and I'm mainly interested in DAO tooling that can increase the action space of what organizations can do on blockchain. And also a big fan of Giveth, as it holds a dear place in my heart because it's the first platform through which I received my first DAO compensation. So happy to see them continue on their journey and come to where they are now, spearheading a lot of the DAO relations, liquid to pool creations, and also just their platform. So happy to be with them all here.
Thank you so much. So to continue, I would love to dive into the gig economy. I was reading a bit of the documentation that you have, and it seems pretty interesting on how you are aiming to create token economies. So I would love to give the speech to Mitch or Chadvi, whoever you feel that this is a topic that you'd like to talk about. Please take the stage.
Mitch, why don't you take this one and I can follow up with anything?
Sure. Yeah. So let's just take a look and we can break down the Give economy for those who aren't familiar. The Give economy launched on Christmas 2021. So we launched actually, I think it was 4 or 5 products all at once. It was a huge launch for Giveth. And so the first and foremost was the Give token, which is an ERC20 token available on mainnet and Gnosis chain. And then with that, we launched the Givebacks program. And so the Givebacks program is the main way that users can receive Give tokens. And those are accumulated by making a donation to a verified project on Giveth. You can get up to 75% of the USD value of your donation back in Give tokens. Once you have these Give tokens, then it gets a lot more interesting. We have the Give Farm, which is a basic liquidity farming program. We have it on Gnosis chain and mainnet. We've got Give ETH pools, Give DAI pools. We're going to have an angel vault soon. We're going to be doing all sorts of crazy liquidity farming initiatives using the Give Farm. After that, we have one of our governance platforms, which is Gardens. And Gardens was deployed by OneHive, and we use disputable voting and conviction voting to allow Give token holders to make changes to the Gardens itself, but also to approve funding proposals for external builders who want to connect with Giveth. And then the last one that I want to touch on, just kind of in this overview, is the Give Stream. And so the Give Stream is this really interesting initiative where basically we turn donors who receive Give tokens into long-term stakeholders in Giveth. We basically give them a constant UBI of Give tokens for making donations and for engaging with us in our rewards programs. And so basically they're going to get a stream of Give all the way for the next 4 years until about Christmas in 2026. And so that's a really interesting way that we kind of keep people coming back to our platform, checking out what we're doing, checking out what we're building, and keeping them engaged in the Give economy. That's kind of the overview. Do you have any other questions, or maybe I can pass it to anyone who wants to elaborate?
Thank you very much. That sounds pretty interesting. I love to know to get a bit more about it, how that works with the tokenomics. If Chadwick, you could elaborate on that, because it's
Yeah,
super
definitely.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess with the advent of the Give token, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do with Give, right? And that's part of my job with Giveth is to find out different ways we can utilize this ERC20 token, basically just for the benefit of everyone, right? It's a public good. So with having Give in a stream as a give back, it really incentivizes the donors to continue using the platform, because it's almost like investing, right? So you get a percentage up front, and then over the next 5 years, you continue to get more Give tokens. So we've come up with a bunch of different cool ways that you can actually use the Give tokens. Some of the more novel ones is donating donating a stable coin to Giveth, and you'll get a nice token. Things like that, and also having an angel vault where essentially we're using a Uniswap v3 concentrated liquidity, kind of with a stable coin that's in a sense give backed in a way. So just different novel ideas to use the actual Give token. We're also working on something that we're calling Give Power, which is essentially incentivizing a holder of Give to stake the Give with their favorite project, which in turn would increase the stream coming back to the donors. So let's say, for example, I have a project that I really like, a nonprofit that I think is doing great work, and I'm also a holder of Give. I'd be able to stake the Give with them against their project and incentivize even more donations from other donors. So really just creating kind of a reflexive wheel of increasing the public good for a project that you like. So yeah, that's really cool with that. And there's also, I think the biggest one and kind of the end goal for Giveth is what's called now with GERBs, which is essentially creating microeconomies. Give Power really being one of the first steps in that. But I definitely don't want to steal the thunder. If Danny or Mitch would like to talk about GERBs, I'll definitely pass the mic.
Yeah, I'd like to also point out some of the really cool token swaps that we've done as well that I think, Chadfi, you had a big play in those, like creating the water token, looking at the public goods index pool, using Balancer. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities there to do future things like creating these like really, really strong and deep partnerships with the value aligned collection of DAOs working in the public good space. And then jumping to the other point that Chadfi was making, kind of talking a little bit about GERVs. I apologize, everyone. We're going to go down a deep tokenomic rabbit hole right now. But if anybody is familiar with an augmented bonding curve, maybe it's a quick time for a quick Google search on there. Basically, we're going to be turning projects on the Giveth platform that can essentially represent public goods into their own micro token economy. And so this is going to be, maybe a year or more of development on the Giveth roadmap, but essentially projects will then have their own project tokens, and project tokens are minted when users invest their Give into a project's augmented bonding curve. And then in return, the donors or the investors, I get at this point, will receive Give token or project tokens in return. And then also the project gets a cut of the Give that is deposited, and it goes into their common pool, and that allows for a steady stream of them to fund the project's goals. That's kind of like a big, broad overview, and there's going to be like obviously many, many, many months of refinement and development in there, but that's kind of like the magnum opus of the Give economy roadmap will be GERBs.
That sounds pretty interesting and pretty exciting, actually. And I would love to talk with actually give the speech to Ada to tell us a bit about his thoughts around that and how you think that comes and is aligned with PrimeDAO and PrimeDAO ecosystem and the products.
Yes, I was actually just wondering if Mitch, you could open up about like how do you see bonding curves playing a role in the creation of these microeconomies? That sounded like super interesting. I remember Jeff Emmett talking about it a lot, but seems like you guys are considering a practical implementation of it. And then I can speak about what I meant.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, hopefully most people are familiar with the Common Stack. And so the Common Stack with, Jeff Emmett and Griff and Tam and crew, Jeff started developing the augmented bonding curve idea a little bit more. And so making that into something a little bit more feasible. And then Sam, actually, which is one of our friendly contributors, I think he mostly works in OneHive and in Blossom Labs, actually made an Aragon app that could be installed into an Aragon DAO that is an augmented bonding curve. And so we piloted this app with the Token Engineering Commons and launching their token economy on an augmented bonding curve. And, we found out that the app actually works pretty well. And so basically taking that same idea of token engineering as a public good, giving it a bonding curve, allowing a trusted sea of investors to come in and buy the tokens on the market. And then after the hatch, allowing for anybody to jump into this economy. Either you invest in the project because you believe in its goals, or maybe you're speculating, and that's totally fine. But at any point in this, when you enter and exit, when you buy or sell project's tokens, so TEC tokens as an example, the project itself will get a cut of those tokens, whether it's stable coins or TEC tokens that you're buying or selling, and it will go into their treasury. And so just imagine like expanding that from the token engineering project into basically any sort of digital or physical public goods that you could imagine.
Awesome. Super cool. Wow. Yeah, this past month was full of hearing about microeconomies and more like sub-DAO formations. So it also kind of made me think in a different way about data interaction itself, as more like rather than forming uniformed alliances, it's more like creating a collective ecosystem where every organization has its own semi-autonomous zone to kind of govern themselves and have this micro economy aspects while being able to still tap into the power of the collective. And I guess this is where the DAO tooling come into play. In our conversations with Giveth, we kind of tested with them, using Prime deals for doing token swaps. But what's more interesting are how these protocols can evolve to support more complex interactions than token swaps, and where they are actually complex and the trust issues, etc., are kind of at a higher level that requires sometimes using third-party intermediaries to facilitate them, or just extra burden on the operational cost of managing it. And one of the, I guess, like nameable one is creation of joint liquidity pools, especially using protocols like Balancer that allow you to kind of govern the parameters of a liquidity pool that you create, agreeing on kind of the policies of how that liquidity pool is run, how is the fee shared, how is the pool created, how is this like pool token is distributed, how are these organizations that are funding this liquidity pool creating incentive programs on top of it. I think these are like the complex data interactions that we really want to focus on, and like we saw like Giveth to a lot of these joint liquidity pools. I guess it's their strategy to kind of create this vast like liquidity base that is connected to a lot of the other aligned organizations, and actually tap into their liquidity power as well, and just increasing the total liquidity space for all of these people in the pool. I remember talking to Mitch about these processes, how it is actually done, and maybe like Mitch, if you wanna give everyone a rundown around how two DAOs come together to create a liquidity pool, might make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone listening.
Yeah, for sure. So we've done quite a few, honestly, a lot of token swaps lately and joint LPs. I'm pretty sure Chad Fi can attest to that. But yeah, generally the status quo has been to make like a Gnosis safe, like a burner Gnosis safe that just gets used singularly for two DAOs to come together and deposit equal USD value of tokens into this burner multi-sig, I guess I'll just call it. Make the LP and then redistribute the LP tokens. And that's okay. We've also done other ones where like we've done token swaps and then the other person just combines it with their own treasury funds and then makes their liquidity pool on their own. And that's kind of okay too. We found that it's causing like a lot of like strange initiatives where like anomalies, I should say, where one DAO walks away with like 10% more LP tokens than the other one, which is like, it's not great. So what I really am excited for with Prime DAO is basically making these tools that are automatic, right? So you put the funds in, goes into a contract, everybody looks at the rules, they understand them, they push a button, and then, you know, the LP is made, LP tokens are redistributed, there's none of this bloat, there's none of this blockchain nonsense, just like making all these crazy multi-sigs just for like one specific action and then never coming back to them ever again. So I'm really excited for obviously doing the first deal with Prime DAO, but also looking forward to functionality for making joint LPs. And then I'd love to see those joint farms sometime in the future. But maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of the game.
That sounds pretty amazing. And I totally feel that this is the natural way of evolving and moving forward. And based on what you say, I would like to ask more about what are the characteristics maybe or the values that you're looking to the projects that you're doing token swaps. Are you looking for a specific vision or mission? Yeah.
Maybe Danny or Chad Fi, you could take that one.
Sure, I could dive into that just a little bit because, you know, that's one of the things that Giveth has always been focused on is experimentation. And, you know, I heard Mitch say getting ahead of ourselves. We are definitely working to get ahead of ourselves and to be looking far into the future. Where are the places that the work that we're doing, these tools that we're building for the digital public goods are actually going to hit the ground, right? This is where I get very excited about it. Is how are we looking to where we're aligning our incentives for donors to be contributing to things they care about, right? And ideally the things we care about aren't just growing value, but they're actually rewarding the people who are creating value in the things that have traditionally been devalued or extracted from. So looking for organization, for good is a very broad statement. What does that actually mean, for good? But we can actually take a look at organizations and look at their underlying intentions and look at who's creating tools and products that are bringing that future of giving, that future of regenerative livelihoods and regenerative value creation in the places that have been economically suppressed. Because getting these tools into the hands of people who are doing that work on the ground is an ultimate goal. So we can look at a very broad and general for good approach and look at who's building these tools and who's working on bringing things into the world that are actually going to have a positive impact on the world and on the people that actually need that the most. So we can do that. We can take a look at which products are out there, which projects have a similarly aligned intention, and to look at, are we actually building these swaps and building these partnerships and collaborations because we want to coordinate toward a shared goal? The goal is shared values. Where are the places that we're putting our value? That's where we want to focus on being able to build tools that measure and expand on that value. As you can see, you've touched on the piece that I get excited about.
Yeah, I totally love that. And yeah, we have the technology nowadays, and we should put it to create value for everyone and to create a better world, I would say. So I totally understand the passion there. In the beginning, you said you started discussing about the projects that are verified. What do you mean verified into the platform? What verified means?
You want me to keep going on that one, Mitch?
Yeah, take it, Danny.
Mm-hmm. So there's an interim step that we're having to do right now to verify projects. And what that means is we're very aware there are always people who are looking to extract from the system. There are bad actors. We do have to be very aware that while we're experimenting and building out these tools, there will be opportunities to take advantage of the system and for individuals to benefit at an inappropriate level, instead of looking like we are to decentralize and distribute that value. So right now, Giveth has a manual process. We've set up requirements for what a project needs to do. And part of that requirement is to say, I promise I won't manipulate the system for personal gain. Part of it is to say, here's who I am, here's the projects, and here's how I'm working on it. So right now, we actually have a team of individuals who, as projects are listed onto the Giveth platform, we go dig, we go look at who are you, where are you, use your social media platforms and other means to demonstrate to us that you really are here to advance the ecosystem, to help adoption of these tools, and to build a future together of shared values. So we don't want to keep doing that. We don't want to be the individuals who have to go check your background and make sure that you're doing what you said you're going to do. What we want to do is be able to build tools that decentralize that responsibility. And that's where Give Power comes in. So now we want to look at who are the people who are donating, who are the people who are collaborating on these projects, and how do we give the power to those people to curate and demonstrate to us which are the projects that we value and we want to see rise to the top. And it's a responsibility that not any one individual should be taking on. We as Giveth, we don't want to be responsible for the quality of the projects and having to check that. We want to decentralize that responsibility. And that's where Give Power lets people who hold the tokens lock up those tokens behind the causes and the projects that they care about, so that we can distribute that responsibility of verifying them in the future.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that that's super powerful and definitely necessary. That is a huge part of people nowadays, I feel like it from my country, a huge part of not donating in our days is that you cannot verify projects. So if you can kind of automate that, and it would be amazing. And I feel that it would be huge to the future of giving. So Ada, would you like to add something here? Because I would love to ask a few questions, to have the community asking us a few questions. I see we have Yuri from Ethicub and also Common Stack listening. So I would love to see if the crowd has other questions. Awesome. Then we can move forward to the different questions. So if everybody wants to ask something, you can just raise the hand and I will make you a speaker. So in case we don't have any questions, I would love to learn more about your vision and mission. Ada, would you like to, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm listening. I actually want to learn more about maybe if you guys could dive deeper into this give economy concept and how it underpins everything, like the operations wise, tokenomics wise.
Well, I can try and touch on it a little bit. You know, obviously, when you get your own token as a DAO or a project or anything, things get a lot more complicated. More tokens, more problems, as I like to say. So really, like now that you've generated this token that has real value and it gets traded on a market, like a lot of the focus changes. Like you need to create like a whole another branch of your DAO, and that's just to supporting the price of the token. So, you know, all of a sudden we have this drive of creating liquidity farms, making sure they're attractive, making sure people are using them, they're intuitive, doing these, you know, huge token swaps, you know, with Prime DAO as an example to support and tether and add collateral to the price of the token. And in Giveth's case, this is especially important because, you know, that's the reward for donating. We want to make sure that that reward has an interesting amount of value for the donors. And in a lot of cases, donors are actually donating that give back to the projects. And so we want to make sure that the projects are getting value as well from when give is donated to them. And I mean, you know, that's just the start. I don't know how deep you want to go there, Ada.
I actually want to go very deep because the first book that actually got me, got me into a thinking process that eventually ended up in, me deciding to join the crypto space was The Gift, the book called The Gift by Marcel Mauss. Was, if I remember correctly, founder of anthropology economics or something like that. And yeah, his book was mainly talking about how before barter, the exchange actually did not start with the barter, but with the kind of gift giving practices in tribal societies, but gift giving itself not being just like very hippie benevolent act between everyone, but
Watch out, Danny and I are burners. You be careful who you call hippies.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No, I definitely agree with that a lot. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, but it carried a lot of kind of affirmations of positions in society, building of new relations, reciprocity, etc. So that it carried a lot of societal functions with it. And when I kind of saw tokens, I saw a lot of kind of this like how distribution of tokens themselves kind of can create communities, and this like giving away to the community aspect also brings you back to the community and brings community to you. So like there's an exchange going on, although it's connected to monetary implications. It's still in the end like free giving that begins a process. And that's why I was like so curious about this give economy concept, because Giveth token is also like it's giving, right? The whole economy is run around giving, right? If you want to earn the token, you have to give, but the token gives itself to you, and then somehow there's this circularity emerges somewhere, and how it moves towards that more like this like sustainable give economy model. Yeah.
This is
Right.
a
Go
super
ahead, Danny.
fascinating. Yeah, this is super fascinating what you're bringing in now, because this is the idea, and this is really what spawned the Give economy. Is as we were using Giveth as a community of givers, recognizing that the people who are making, the people who are building these projects are also givers. They're giving their time, they're giving their energy, as opposed to giving the funding. But as we looked at this, as we looked at the people who were giving all of the time and not being rewarded and not being incentivized to keep doing that, the problem is that those funds go into a project, they get used one time, and these projects have to continue begging and begging for more gifts and more gifts. So we started looking at how do we help take those gifts that are being given to the projects and use them in a way that creates regenerativity. And the first step of that is what we're doing right now by rewarding the people who are giving the funds, because those funds are allowing us to build those circular aspects, the regenerative economy. Now, what we still need to do is figure out how the makers, the people who are actually running these projects and receiving the tokens, can start distributing those amongst each other and supporting each other in a circular way. Because, we're not actually talking about exchanges here. A gift is a gift. A transaction doesn't actually have to have anything coming back. When you give something, it's a gift. However, when you look at these tokens and attaching utility and attaching other ways to do it, they become conditional gifts. I'm going to give this to you, and we're going to use it in these ways to start building beyond sustainability and building into regenerativity. So Giveth is founded on that, and that's why I've worked on it. I actually stopped earning income years ago and only work on projects that I believe are creating regenerativity. And the tokens that I receive back, I donate right back in. So anybody who I see is doing something good, I'm helping them get listed on Giveth, because this is an on-ramp. It's helping these people get into blockchain tooling and start learning about how to use tokens, so that in the future we can start exchanging them amongst each other freely and rewarding each other for where we see creating that good and aligning with the values again. So going beyond, taking what the governments were doing before by the big thing we have here is governments have been using tax deductions to reward people for giving. But that giving doesn't actually build a relationship or create more value in the world. It's just giving these people a tax deduction and a relationship with their own nation state. What we're doing now with the give economy is we're using your gift of a token actually gives back by rewarding you in a way that you can do more, but also creating these circular relationships between projects that are working towards something shared. So I see these token swaps and these liquidity pools as helping us build the collaborations now and helping bring up the mass adoption and create value by building these public goods in a place that's coming from giving first. When you come from a place of giving and you give, that's naturally going to start rewarding you back. And that's what this economy is built on, to kind of demonstrate that and make it tangible.
Well said, Danny. That's awesome. You just have such a way with words. And the exciting part is that the whole give economy, the entry point is giving, and then from there, we're just building stuff on top of it. So the entry, how you get in is through giving, and then after that, you've got a world of possibilities.
So my question is, how do you see this evolving?
Particularly within Prime DAO or the give economy?
Give economy, like how does it? What's more like a complex layer look like, or what's it now that you are trying to build? New ways of I don't know how to even.
Mm-hmm. So there's one particularly that will be interesting for Prime DAO, and that is regen farms. And so a regen farm is basically a deployable liquidity farming program that Giveth offers for value-aligned DAOs. And so right now we have one for Shapeshift, and we have one for Cult DAO, and we've got a few more in the pipeline. And what I see most interesting is that Prime DAO is actually kind of working on the same thing, and they're looking to automate it. Right now, our regen farms are all done manually. We have like a base contract, but a dev actually has to come in, get the parameters set up. Like there's like a lot of like one-to-one dialogue, but it would be really awesome if like a value-aligned DAO could just come into like a UI, push some levers, pull some buttons, and then just deploy their own farm. Or why not with 2 DAOs and just make it automated? So with the regen farms, we kind of like started treading into water that I think Prime DAO is already actively working on.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I'm thinking given like this like co-farming, like joint liquidity pools where with incentivized liquidity rewards is potential use case for proposed inverter to actually just, if you're seeing that, visualizing the architecture, Mitch. Like,
no, tell me about a proposal inverter, Ada. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a new product that a team of collaborators from Prime DAO, Token Engineering Commons, LTF, Byte Rockets, and Block Science are building together. It is basically a funding protocol that allows you to easily aggregate funding from multiple entities and create a joint pool that streams these funds, these assets, to a team of contributors or any contract address that you can specify. So it basically allows more than 5 entities, or there's just like multiple entities, to easily collaborate on joint ventures without bearing too much risk on accountability, fund management, etc. So for Giveth's application, you might imagine these regen farm people coming together and basically choosing certain liquidity pools that they can all like deposit. For these pools, they can deposit assets that are streamed as liquidity rewards to whoever is providing liquidity to them. And yeah, and the all you would need to do is set up the initial parameters in the beginning, deposit the funds, and then the whole thing just, the whole stream, the whole flow works by itself.
That's interesting. And so you mentioned entities a little bit earlier as like the funders, and there's no reason that these public good projects that are going to have their own token economies couldn't become entities themselves in this process.
Yes, they can all, exactly. So everyone can become a funder or a funded entity. It's all a wallet address. But as you just mentioned, certain groups, like organizations, grant programs, DAOs, individuals might be funding a pool, but the funding entity can again use this pool of funds to stream it to another purpose or become a funder themselves. So you might imagine, like these different DAOs streaming their liquidity rewards to different liquidity pools, while their own liquidity pool is still receiving rewards. And the rewards are, let's say, like guaranteed to be streamed for a year. But at any point, anyone can withdraw, which means, like you don't like commit to a long-term alliance by risking it all in the day one, but you secure the sustainability of this alliance and the required commitments from the get-go, while still, keeping in your hand the right to kind of withdraw when the terms don't apply to you anymore, or there's a disagreement, etc. This is not like the first use case we were imagining it for, but actually right now we were writing every potential use case that this common architecture can support. And yeah, this was one of the things that we were just talking this morning. So yeah, nice to hear it from you as well.
Thank you very much, Ada, for sharing more about the product. I think that is something that it can be useful for both communities. Unfortunately, we have to stop because we are almost in an hour. We have almost an hour since we started, but if anybody here is interested in learning more about the two communities and learning more about PrimeDAO products, I would totally recommend you to join our Discord. We will start a link soon about an invite to our Discord. And if anyone has a question, here is the time. If not, thank you everyone so much, and this conversation has been super insightful. I think that we have, yes, one moment.
Yeah, may I? Oh, you have a question?
Yes, we have one question.
Wonderful.
From Common Ground. Yeah.
Hello, hi. I meant to ask you a question earlier, but I wasn't quick enough, and my brain just went. Bleh. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm from Common Ground. It's really nice to see a few familiar faces in the audience here. If you don't know us, we are building a social platform for messaging, voice channels, token-gated channels, content, token-gated content, everything within our platform, within Web3. Yeah, if you want to know any more about that, I can tell you another time. But I just wanted to say a really big thank you to everyone who contributed to this Twitter space. It's been really, really interesting. Danny, I especially liked how you were able to compare the giving, like through Giveth with the tokens, to, like your regular day-to-day, like tax coming out of your paycheck, and how, that can feel like a really, like, something that you can't really personalize to. It's not something that you can see, you know, and you can't really see it going anywhere. And now that we've got this new concept, this new way of giving, where we can have more autonomy over the things that we give to, and we can actually be sure that the things that we're giving, you know, our tokens to are actually, I don't know, we just get a lot more information, you know. I feel like we're a lot more informed. And the way that you described how, you know, you can have that first wave and everybody can give and they give to the project. And then after that, we had to come up with something else because, you know, people give once. And I think that's a lot of the problems that we would have, like with your standard charity as well. Like you can get that one like cash injection, but then after that, what do you do to sustain it? And I guess, you know, traditionally they would set up some kind of subscription or some kind of like monthly donation or something like that. But still having this new concept of getting, not quite getting something back, but you're giving and there is more value in it and you've got more autonomy over what you're doing. Does that make sense? Have I got the right thing there?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what's really exciting about the future waves of this. You know, we talk so little about things like the augmented bonding curves that are coming up that will help these projects actually begin their own microeconomies. And you know, that's the future that we want to see. We want to see how the value that's being created through these gifts becomes sustainable and is actually creating regenerative livelihoods as it develops these public goods and improves the condition of the planet and life for those of us who are on it.
Really, really big goals. And yeah, there's a lot more evolution of it, I'm sure, to come, but it's super interesting. Yeah, just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah. You know, someone mentioned sub-DAOs early on here, and I think that that's going to be something that becomes more and more significant here because we align around these lofty goals, but then we identify small objectives that can be accomplished, and we form maybe smaller circles or little groups that are actually taking action on those items. They're able to move quicker and accelerate the expansion into these bigger goals. So I think that's something we're going to see a lot coming out of decentralized governance as well, is these sub-DAOs and these more actionable tasks that make this big grand goal visible and achievable.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Based on your comment, I totally think that this whole model makes also giving and donating more sustainable, in a sense that nowadays kind of difficult to give and then continue giving. As you said, you have to kind of set aside a part of your income to do it, but when you give and then you get back, then you have more energy and more value to give back. And that's an amazing feeling. That is what makes us happy at the end of the day. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today, and thank you, Giveth, for the whole dive into the concept and the tokenomics, and looking forward to have more events with you guys, and talk to you, everybody, very soon. If anyone would like to learn more about the products, you can join our Discord. In a few weeks, we will have our office hours where you can ask everything about the different products and the different partnerships that we currently have, and brainstorm together. So this Twitter space will be recorded and soon will be released to the community. And see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.